In the early stages of, say, Season 2, there basically weren't any coaches available. Everything was very player-driven.
Egos got very, very big, and that always meant that if you brought in a new guy, for him to obviously have the respect was very difficult. But it also meant when you had team discussions and it was a big ego versus maybe a new guy in the team who's a player, that discussion was very quickly over because obviously the big guy would win it very quickly. And even though the other guy was right, you wouldn't realize it. You just played that one way because that was the way you were supposed to do things.
There was nobody to really resolve conflict because everybody was involved in every single conflict. There was no neutral party to kind of oversee the team, and that led to a very chaotic scene with a lot of breakups and a few good teams. Even in the early stages of Season 3, there were still not really that many coaches. Players didn't feel the need to either because back then it was so gameplay related that if you didn't have the insight to challenge a player on any gameplay matter, you would be unlikely to win his respect.
Coming into Season 3, first of all, because Riot had you do paperwork, they're like, well, I don't want to do it, and Bjergsen doesn't want to do it, and Svenska doesn't want to do it, Krepo doesn't want to do it. Like, let's find a manager. That was like step one, find a manager who could then sort the paperwork and kind of schedule flights and all that kind of stuff, which you needed in Season 3 where very few teams had gaming houses in the first split. So that was very important. And it kind of led into the manager then saying, oh, I'm getting a bit of an overview of what's happening. I see you guys are arguing after every scrim. Maybe take a 5-minute break. Let's pull up a replay instead and look at that instead of you screaming at each other. And at least us at the Copenhagen Wolves, we were like, huh, that works really well. Maybe we should get someone who we can have with us all the time.
I think the introduction of some analysts kind of helped bridge that gap where people that weren't as highly ranked still had really good opinions about the game and they started contributing to some of the teams.
M5 with Groove was one of the first ones to have like a real manager there and like really had them under control. So he was kind of like the grandfather of managers that could turn into more of a coaching role back in spring.
He just had a certain authority around him. When he walked with the team, he was also, oh yeah, that's Groove, he is leading Moscow 5.
Lemon Dogs was the first one to bring in an analyst. They actually interviewed two guys. I don't even remember the name of the guy they picked up, but the second guy was Clement Chu. And we talked to Clement and we picked him up very quickly. And the first thing he did was like, okay, here's a report on like what they do in LPL. Here's pick and bans from Korea. Your pick and ban is terrible. Here's what Korea is playing. Here's why. And he didn't need to show us like clips. We didn't need to ask him about his rank. Like he would just watch the games and write down notes. Like he would basically just write down information. We would look at it and go like, huh, are we doing a lot of stuff wrong here? Because like we would tunnel vision like 2 or 3 picks in every role. That's all we played. So that was really an eye opener. And once a few teams get that and they start talking highly of certain people and they show, like you just show like that report he wrote and you'd be like, hey, this is the kind of stuff he's doing. And people are like, wow.
It took Adreda to join us as a team to really start opening our eyes and say, like, guys, on the replay, like right here, why don't you do this differently? Because this is how it works. And suddenly things clicked a little bit at least.
Veggie was the coach for KMT, who then became Rockhard with Vander and Yankos and Overpower and these guys. And he was a super smart coach, in my opinion, because he adopted what a lot of teams would adopt in Season 4 is if Korea is doing it, we should do it too. So he would look at what Korea were doing and like directly analyze it. More than just giving the information, he would actually find replays and show to the guys. So that was the big evolution, because once that happens, once you realize it, once it happens to you, you get destroyed by someone who had a guy helping them who actually added a lot of value. You're kind of like, I want that. You know, I need that kind of guy. And that's where like the search really started for directly coaches who could also be there with your team.
There are a lot of old school players that they've been working on their own for so long. It's really hard to make them see the light, but I think it's undeniable that coaches can add value in a way, not in the same way in every team, but a team of support should always be able to add value to a team of players.
It's like a guy like Diamond Prox, who would be like massive, you know, legacy and an old school player. He's talking very highly of his own coach.
Took him a while.
Took him a while, of course. Like I would say it started like Season 5, actually, of him praising, especially Sean's when he came in the summer split Season 5. A lot of praise there, but also a lot of respect because Sean was a former pro jungler himself and he could help him quite a lot. So once even the old school players start accepting coaching, there's not really anything that makes you as a new player then say, oh, yeah, coaching is useless. Like if everyone else is saying it, obviously there is something about it. I feel like the next evolution, which is what teams are doing now, is they are searching for a lot of different people outside of esports as well. They bring them in, but they also realize this is not a coach who will add game value. So we take a retired player or a known analyst and have him working closely with that coach. It's very rare you get that in one guy, just a player who retires, who just knows how to coach and also is super smart at the game.
You just really want to find a balance between having player experience and traditional sport knowledge, and see if you can mold that either into one person or create a team to relieve as much burden from the players as you can.
A coach is so much more than just a guy giving you in-game stuff. It's everything around it. How to behave as a teammate, how to give feedback, how to take feedback, how to live properly, and everything. It's not one guy, it's not gonna work. You need managers, or one manager at least. You need a coach, you need a head analyst. And because League of Legends has so many different layers and so many different things you're always looking at, preferably you have multiple guys freelance working under this head analyst. They give him the information, he filters it, he gives it on to the coach, who then filters it and gives it on to the players. Basically, you have that, what do you call it, event or build-up? Structure, which then gives the good information to the players. You're feeling very good about that one.
I'm feeling really good.
Welcome back.